All right, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Allie Stiefel. I'm the director of the Regeneron Science Talent Search, which is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science research competition for high school seniors. You are here tonight because hopefully you've opened your STS application for the 2023 cycle, and you know that it's due 1 week from tonight on November 9th. We're excited to encourage you a little bit tonight. We've had 4 other webinars this cycle. You can find them on our website and linked in the application as well. But this one's a little bit different. Instead of talking to you about the rules and how the competition works, we are so excited to give you a little bit of inspiration tonight and advice from some of the finalists from the 2022 program. These are some of the best teenagers I know. Maybe you see a bit of yourselves in some of them, and we're just so excited to reconnect with them and hear about their STS experiences and their advice for all of you who've they've been in your shoes and they know what it's like at this very moment, 1 week before this application deadline. So we're going to hear from them tonight. Before we do that, I'm going to toss it over to my colleague Elaine, and she's going to talk about what we're going to do first.
All right, so as Ali said, thank you so much everybody for being here with us tonight. We are so excited to be here with you and also to be meeting with some very special guests, these finalists from the class of the Regeneron STS class of 2022. They are here to share some memories with us, information about their research experiences, as well as some application advice. But first, we really did want to show you just a few of the incredible things that they did at finals week. So let's go ahead and roll that highlights video.
I'm incredibly gratified that after 2 years, we've been able to bring the Regeneron Science Talent Search finalists together under very strict protocols to keep each and every one of them safe, for them to enjoy what many of the finalists in the past have enjoyed, the power of being together and the power of being in our nation's capital.
When people say that STS is a life-changing experience, that is totally true.
I would describe Science Talent Search as the pinnacle of what everyone wants to do when they compete in science fair.
My 9th grade year, I had listened to the seniors at the time present their research. I wanted to be like these seniors and have this incredible research that was worthy of submitting to STS.
Every year I look at the projects for the finalists, especially the last 2 years since they've been online. I didn't have many peers around me who worked on science fair, and so STS was a great way for me to have people to look up to, role models.
I'm the first finalist at my school. I'm the first finalist in Louisiana in the last 16 years. Being able to represent the amazing state is a privilege and an honor.
It feels so rewarding and relieving to have someone see my project and say, this person has done an amazing thing and I want to award this person.
It made me feel like my project was worth it. It was at times frustrating, but I'm just so happy to be here now.
My project was like an independent project. There wasn't a program through my school. Being able to be here today, to be able to inspire other people who don't have programs at their school to want to pursue science, that's an incredible opportunity.
Especially due to the personal nature of my research and the fact that I researched my own disorder, it was really unique to be able to be recognized for the work that I did in taking back control of my disorder.
Seeing that they chose me as someone who they thought would be the future of science, and so I think that is really special.
For me, this event feels more like a celebration and almost like a retreat. In between all the judging, we're just hanging out with everyone here. We're doing lots and lots of fun stuff. We're staying in a really nice hotel.
It was really worth it to come here because in person you obviously get to meet people better.
It's just so exciting to be in person with everybody. You can play Jenga, you can laugh when the Jenga tower falls.
I really don't think there's anything that replaces that experience of actually being present and being surrounded in such an environment of innovation.
The environment is just, a group of 40 people who just enjoy science and, love talking about science. I didn't know these people really existed,
I've also, considered myself an introvert, so it's been somewhat surprising that here now, I just can't stop talking.
I've learned about things that I just never thought I would ever know because of these people who just know so much and are willing to kind of share what they know.
I think I'm getting appreciation for how big science is. Every single field just has so many sub-problems in it.
Just being able to talk to people who have a really diverse amount of interests, they're very kind and empathetic.
After I had one of my judging interviews, the other people were like, okay, we should go on a walk afterwards to decompress together, and I think it's just been really nice having this kind of community.
The ultimate goal is to be friends with everyone. I truly believe STS is about the people. Judging and awards are only temporary.
It's like I'm from New York City, asking people like who live on a farm, like what that's like. Everyone's so genuinely curious about everyone else's experiences, what motivates them, what wakes them up in the morning.
They're like so smart and so cool, and they're also really fun. Like, I don't know like if other people think that we're all nerds, which we are, but we're cool nerds. I'll say we're cool nerds.
The days feel really long because the organizers have packed a lot of things into them. Either you're doing something and learning something, or you're having fun.
I like the Regeneron Innovation Panel because I got to know the entire process from just an idea becoming reality. It takes a whole team to do it.
It's really great that Regeneron, even with all the important things that they're doing, makes time to just talk to aspiring scientists and like nurture and guide them.
We just heard from Dr. Nina Shore, learning about her journey from being an STS finalist, how her research and life journey brought her to where she was really inspiring.
I've heard all the stories from the alumni about how the connections they made at STS have persisted through their career, and I look forward to that as well.
One of the most exciting things that happened this week was the game show night. Our team was Team Orange, and so we named ourselves Orange, You Glad You Lost to Us. So we're glad that we weren't last.
Since COVID, everything has been a little bit more digitalized. So instead of doing like just public visiting day to like a few thousand people, anyone in the world, if they are curious, they can access like our videos.
I think the gala will be already neat automatically because Melissa Villasenor is the MC and I'm an SNL fan. I think she's cool.
You also have the opportunity to like eat lunch with some really amazing people. You can find inspiration kind of all around you.
Even in these judging interviews, having the opportunity to just have these questions fired at us by these scientists, it's great to see kind of how they conceptualize a research mindset. It just helps me grow more as a scientist.
I learned that together we're at our best. Being a part of this science community, I just am so motivated to learn, inspire, and contribute more to science.
I'm extremely grateful. We're lucky enough to have this opportunity to meet in person. These are incredible people, and I'm very honored to be a part of them.
If I were to say something to everyone, I'd just be like, I think you guys are an amazing community. I'm so like lucky and happy to be here, and I hope we stay together for a long time.
It's like a lifelong community that you could always rely on. If you have any scientific endeavors you want to explore with them, if you want to potentially create like a startup with them, then like these are like the people you would go to. They're some like the smartest and most talented people I've ever met.
There's kind of a stigma that science research is at the undergraduate or the doctorate level, but I think through programs like the Science Talent Search, we're creating awareness of the fact that high schoolers are more than competent to do it.
These kids, and me too, we're setting an example for the future generations and for the past generations that we got this. We can do this.
I hope that the finalists understand they all have amazing and great ability. But with that amazing and great ability, I believe, comes great responsibility to take advantage of what they can do in their talents to give back to the world, to really make a difference, to helping address some of these existential threats facing mankind.
Final question is, are you ready?
We're ready.
What a walk down memory lane, I know for me and for probably all of our finalists who are here with us today. And maybe that looks exciting to you because it's always exciting to me. We're excited now to share, introduce our finalists who are joining us tonight. Before we do that, just want to talk about what we're going to do next. So I have a set of questions, as do my colleagues, who that we're going to ask the finalists first. But all of you watching, leave your questions in the chat because we want to make sure the finalists have a chance to answer your questions as well. And once we get through our set, we'll be sure to start asking yours. Before we get started, you've met me, you've met Elaine. I want you to meet Marion Bechtel. Marion, give us a wave. Marion is our colleague who is also an STS alum. Want to say hi, Marion?
Hey, it's great to be here. My name's Marion. I use they, them pronouns, and I was an STS finalist back in the year of 2012, I think. Is that right?
I think that's right.
So
yeah.
A long time ago, but very excited to be here and to see all of the finalists from last year again and to hear about how you're doing now.
Awesome. Thank you, Marion. All right. And thank you to our finalists for being here today. I'll call on you to introduce yourselves and tell us your name, where you're going to college and maybe where you're from, where you were from when you were a finalist, and what you're studying, if you know, because you might, maybe you don't know yet. The first person I see on my screen is Desiree. Go for it.
Hi, I'm Desiree. I use she, her pronouns. Right now I'm at Colgate University, but I'm originally from Long Island. And I'm currently studying political science and global public and environmental health.
Thanks, Desiree. Next, I see the trio over here from Stanford. We got Yash, Heloise, and Neil.
Hi, I'm Eloise. I'm here at Stanford studying bioengineering. I'm originally from Belgium, but I live in Florida.
Hi, I'm Yash. I'm also at Stanford and studying computer science and sustainability, and I'm from the Bay Area.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm really surprisingly also at Stanford. I'm studying either linguistics or symbolic systems, which is like a cognitive science thing. And I'm from the Bay Area too.
Thank you. We'll stick with the theme. Christine, you're next.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I'm also at Stanford, and I'm studying physics, like concentrating in astrophysics.
Awesome. Thanks, Christine. We'll switch coasts, and Ethan, you can go next.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I'm from Syosset, New York, so basically Long Island. I'm at Yale, specifically Hopper College, which is the best college here at Yale. And I'm studying global affairs and history.
Very cool. Thanks, Ethan. All right, we got a duo here, Asil and Victor.
Hi, I'm Victor. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and we're here at Harvard College, and I'm planning to study electrical engineering.
Hi, I'm Asil, and I am originally from Texas, and I am hopefully studying biology and statistics.
Very good. Max, go for it.
Hi, I'm Max B. Linkren. I'm from Decatur, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta. And right now I'm studying physics at Georgia Tech, and I use any pronouns.
Thank you, Max. Rishabh, go for it.
Hi, I'm Rishabh. I'm at MIT right now. I'm originally from San Jose. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm studying electrical engineering and computer science with physics.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Amber.
Hey, I'm Amber. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm originally from Long Island, but right now I'm here at MIT, and I'm studying computer science and applied math.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here today. We're going to kick it off first with a set of questions about the application. We know that's probably what's on the front of everyone's minds who's watching tonight. So I have a series of questions here, and I'll start with Victor. Question for you. Why did you decide to apply to STS, and what did you hope to get out of the experience?
Yeah, so I heard about STS through some of my friends in high school who had applied, and at the time I had known of two people who made the top 300, and so I wanted to apply because I had heard that STS is not only such a prestigious program, but also such a great community to be in. And also that colleges, of course, love to admit STS students. So I applied, and I'm so glad that I did that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's always helpful when you see someone go through it who you know, and if you don't know anyone who's gone through it, hey, you've got these great role models to hear from tonight, right? Great. Well, my next question, since Asil's with you, we'll go with Asil. What was your application experience like? What do you remember?
So my application experience was really interesting. I didn't know how to approach a lot of things on the application. If I remember correctly, there were a lot of questions about like, and I know some people could probably relate who are watching this webinar, but I didn't have like a mentor throughout my research. And I also didn't have like a lab or anything like that. A lot of my research, at least for the project that I was submitting, was done at home during COVID. And so I was wasn't sure how to like approach the mentorship questions, but obviously the application makes that really clear and like tells you what to do in those situations. But I was really worried, I guess, when I was doing my application. And because I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to be put at a disadvantage because my research, I don't have like a mentor. I couldn't like access lab equipment. I couldn't do like XYZ.
But overall, I think that talking to other students helped me a lot, just realizing that like science is what you make out of it, and like working on your project is what you make out of it. At the end of the day, like I really enjoyed working on my research. And so the application experience for me was one where I looked at the questions early on and I started a couple of them, but I ended up rushing it in the last week, or most of it in the last week. But I think one thing that did help though was looking at the questions early and thinking about them. So even if you don't start thinking about the questions is good. But yeah, the application experience overall was able to get it done. And yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to the idea of not having a formal mentor and being nervous that might impact your chances. But with our holistic process, we definitely consider all of that, right? So don't let that be a factor that keeps you from applying. Desiree, you submitted your application about a year ago, and maybe some college applications too around the same time. So we know it's just like a really busy time for a high school senior, right? Do you have any tips for entrants who are trying to manage that workload right now, and maybe managing their mental health through that process as well?
Yeah, so for me, it was a lot about just, first of all, budgeting my time. Like, I'm very much a visual person in the sense where I like to have a visual checklist or like block out, say, my Google Calendar so I could actually keep myself to some sort of structure. And in that, it's also important to block out mental health breaks and time for yourself, which I found very helpful for me. So I would say spend an hour or two doing homework, and then I'd take a break to go for a walk or FaceTime some friends or something just for me, and then go back to, say, my STS application or to college application. So just making sure that you actually are blocking out time and holding yourself to that to take care of yourself in the midst of everything, and also that you're holding yourself to a schedule rather than procrastinating it.
That is fantastic advice, not just for an application process, but for life. Very good, but certainly applicable to this as well. Thank you. Let's see, Eloise, what advice would you give to a rising 12th grade student who's considering applying but isn't sure? Would you tell them that the application is worth it?
Absolutely. I mean, there's everything to gain and absolutely nothing to lose. The best thing that you could gain is $250,000 and 40 best friends. And what you have to lose is just an email saying that unfortunately you're not a finalist this year, but that you can continue to follow your passions. So I would absolutely encourage any high schooler who's done any form of research that they're passionate about, whether it be scientific or behavioral or social science, to just apply to STS. The application can seem intimidating. There are a lot of questions, and if you're starting the application today, you might have to dedicate a lot of time to it, but it's okay. You can still make it work, especially because a lot of the prompts that are in the STS application are similar to some prompts that colleges might ask. So it's possible to kind of reuse some of the same ideas. So it's not as overwhelming as you think. And like I said, there's everything to gain and nothing to lose. So do it.
Very good advice. In fact, we expect and hope that you will reuse your answers from other applications. So don't feel bad about that at all. And also, we're not looking at grammar and spelling, like if you give us short answers for this program. So don't let that perfectionism get in your way here. Christine, question for you. Do you have any tips on how to best approach the application process, or how did you go about approaching it?
Yeah, so I guess for me, when I was applying, there are kind of two parts that I'd spend the most time on. One was kind of actually doing all the write-up and work, which was useful both because I had a paper that I was then able to submit to like a journal and get that published. And then also all of the actual essay responses where you have to write about the kind of like, your involvement in the process and like, all the personal responses. And so my advice for, I guess, the personal responses in the essay writing part is to just like honestly take it as an opportunity to reflect on yourself. I think for me, the whole process of applying to college, of writing all my personal statements and the statements for STS, was a really useful kind of tool or framework for me to reflect on my experiences in high school and my specific involvement in that project. And so you should almost look at it as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, almost like a journal prompt, if you will. And then the best answers for those questions are going to be the most honest ones that are the most true to yourself. And then for the actual paper itself, it just kind of goes as like a standard paper, but the best you can do for yourself in terms of scientific writing is to read a lot.
Awesome. That's great advice, especially about the front part, right, of the application and talking about who you are as a person. That's something that Elaine and I love to preach to interested students who are applying as well, that we want to know who you are as a person. So you have to think about that and make sure that that's reflected in what you're writing. So that's definitely great advice. Max, question for you. There are 7 days left until the deadline. What advice do you have for those last 7 days? I know like sometimes people start really early, sometimes they're last minute. Where did you fall in that? And then how did you approach those last 7 days? There's no wrong answer.
I was definitely on the more last minute side. I think close to as last minute as possible, but I guess definitely if you haven't already, try to get all of the things that don't depend on you done as soon as possible. So it is late for letters of recommendation, but still theoretically possible. And besides that, I would focus on working on the paper and finishing that up as soon as you can, because that is a theoretically infinite time sink. And you don't want that pushing out your essays, because the essays are really where you can express yourself.
Very good advice as well. Those recommendations for sure. Good point. If you have not requested them yet, you need to do that right now. Give those adults in your life the chance to write something nice for you. And similarly, if you notice that they haven't started, send them a quick email and say, hey, just a reminder, like the deadline's coming up, because it may not be their fault. We do have there's some pretty strict junk mail filters, at some of these schools, right, for your teachers and your mentors. So make sure that their messages weren't caught. And if they were, we can help them out. Have them email our STS account. Yeah, thanks for that reminder, Max, about the recommendations there. I'm going to turn it over to Elaine to ask the next set of questions.
All right, so this next set of questions is really about your research experience. So how you got involved in research, what it was like for you, and how you went about submitting that to STS. So the first question I have, I think I'm going to give to Christine. Did you complete your research at home, or did you work on bioinformatics, computer science, or another type of research that was really doable from your home as an STS project? And if so, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so the work I did was mainly like computational astrophysics and data analysis. And so for me, the whole project experience from, finding a mentor and meeting my mentor, and like every time when we and like working on the actual project was always done basically from home. So I worked with a mentor at Northwestern University, which is in Chicago. And so Dr. Fishbach and I would just get on Zoom every week, talk about the project, and then I would spend most of the time just doing the actual like programming and analysis work from the comfort of my own home. And so because I was involved in astrophysics, I would say that working from home was honestly something I was used to even before the pandemic hit. And now that in our kind of broader consciousness as a society, it's a lot more acceptable to work from home. There's so much opportunity now to be involved in this kind of computational research that you can do from anywhere in the world.
That is absolutely true. Definitely as a result of the pandemic, but just in general, we've seen a ton of people submit great research that they conducted entirely from home. Also amazing that we always receive work that folks have done in the labs with mentors as well, but really just proves that you can submit any kind of research to STS. So thank you for that, Christine. I think my next question I'm going to give to Asil. For younger students looking to do research for next year, do you have advice on how they should get started?
Yeah, I think that starting research can always be a little intimidating, especially if you don't know where to start or if you aren't sure what you want to do. And I think one thing that I wish I would have done going back was picking fields I genuinely was interested in, as opposed to fields that like I thought would be good to like present to judges and stuff. like, for example, when I was like earlier in like middle school, early high school, a lot of my projects focused on like things like filters and other things that I thought would look good in science fairs, but in reality, I really wanted to do research related to infectious disease, related to public health issues, related to other things like that. And but I thought in my head, I was like, these aren't going to do well at science fairs. But I think the best thing is to just focus on fields that you genuinely are interested in, even if you don't think you're going to be, even if you think that you don't know that field very well. I really wish that I went back and learned fields just because you have so much time in high school compared to other, like when I don't know, when you're in college, like you're focusing on your concentration, your major, whatever. But in high school, you can really prioritize and focus on like a new area that maybe you didn't have that much experience in. So for example, like another project I worked on was something where I did like electrochemistry and I learned that from scratch. You don't really need to have like a teacher or a mentor to learn these things. You can watch videos, you can use textbooks. And sometimes when you're like watching the basic videos and the like learning from textbooks, you'll come up with a project idea from that. So you don't have to go into it knowing what your idea is. Pick a field that you enjoy, read up about it, read up about like recent research, read up about like the fundamentals, and maybe from there you'll find a project. But overall, just enjoy the process and don't think about the end result, i.e. like if the project is gonna like be super successful, if you're gonna get the results you want, if whether that's like the results of the project, the results of the science fair, focus on the process more and like actually gaining something from the research.
That's excellent advice, Asil. Thank you, especially if you're not eligible for STS this year, but you're interested in maybe applying in the future. Definitely always love to hear that people are following their passions. So thank you. All right, I think my next question I'm going to give to Amber. How about the experience of doing a research project as a high school student? Did you encounter any barriers with that? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I generally think doing research as a high school student can be actually difficult for some. I think there do exist, like it can be difficult. Like I think the hardest part is finding a mentor. It's definitely possible to like do research without a mentor. And I know like many STS finalists that have done research without mentors, but I think sometimes for fields, like if you want to do wet lab biology, or if you want to maybe like get involved with, I don't know, like quantum physics or something, sometimes it's easier to do projects like that if you have a mentor. And I think that as a high school student, oftentimes like it's difficult to find just like a mentor at a local university, because a lot of them, like, I don't know, mentors usually prefer to work with like grad students, undergrads, as opposed to high school students. So one way that I like think helps high schoolers like get started in research is to apply to research programs. There's a lot of like summer research programs, maybe like they're virtual or in person, that people can apply to. I think those are like a really helpful way to like get your feet wet in research. And I think another way is like some schools have research programs. If your school doesn't have a research program, I think like you can probably like try to do research maybe like in your house or find topics you're interested in. But I think like definitely my general advice for like high schoolers wanting to get involved in research would be to try applying to like research programs.
That's awesome advice. And everything you said just proves that, yeah, people come to research in so many different ways. So definitely taking advantage of the opportunities available to you is the way to go. But we've definitely done a lot of talking about mentors. And so I think I wanted to ask Ethan, how did you find your mentor? Or if you didn't have a mentor, what was your experience like?
Yeah, of course, of course. So I think for me, I reached out to a lot of different professors in local universities and research centers that were working on projects or had research interests that kind of aligned with what I was looking for. I was really trying to look for, I guess, a scientific experience in which I could incorporate some of my advocacy in terms of like advocating for more healthcare affordability, and just looking for different professors and how they incorporated different ways to really promote translational medicine in like more affordable ways. For example, like repurposing therapies, I think was something that I really tried to look for. In terms of like actually sending out emails, it is like a lot of like non-responsive, I guess, emails that you get back. In terms of the professors that you email are really, really busy as well. So as for me, I would suggest like maybe emailing maybe at least 50, maybe 100, even more potential mentors that are working on projects that you find interesting, and definitely like look into their projects. Look a little bit about like what they've done, some of the papers they've written. I think it's really important to try to determine if you would really enjoy what you're doing in the lab. Also, I think if you have the opportunity to definitely try sitting in on one of their meetings virtually or in person, depending on proximity, see how the vibe is in the lab. And I mean, if multiple professors allow you to work in their labs, then it's definitely great to have a good relationship with them, especially because they can write you good recommendations. They can be a really great support for you throughout your high school, college, maybe even grad school process. So what I really recommend is trying to get a feel for the vibe, if you're able to. If not, then I mean, definitely just try reaching out to as many professors as you can. And overall, my experience in the lab with my mentor was absolutely amazing. I love my mentor. He last day I did research, he brought in like Krispy Kreme for like a small lab party. So it was just like so nice to be able to work with a super supportive professor, uh, always down to chat about anything that I found interesting, significant, strange, uh, even just about life in general. So I think it's just really great to find professors and mentors that you really vibe with. And I definitely recommend trying to look for that if you have the option to.
It definitely is so cool to find folks who are supportive of your work and your research. And so Regeneron STS is hugely about community, as all of you know. So really awesome to see that reflected in your mentors too. All right, so I have one more question about the research experience here, and this one is for Rishabh. How long did you spend on your research project?
Yeah, I spent a long time on my research. I started my STS project somewhere at the beginning of my junior year, and that was after having thought about the project most of that summer. So the junior year is really the bulk of a lot of where I was ideating, problem solving, and getting to a point where I actually understood like what my research was, how it worked, and was able to produce some results. And then that summer after junior year is really a process of refining and fine-tuning everything and making sure that after I had known how to get to this endpoint, how to actually analyze the results of my research, synthesize complex discussions, and look at the consequences. And that was kind of the point that I got to when I applied to STS. I had around maybe a year plus a little bit, maybe like a year and a few months. But I want to like just emphasize that even if you're doing research, like STS isn't the end of where your research can go. Like I'm still working on the same research project with my mentor, and we're working on getting it published right now with more results that have come out that have been processed after STS. So I think the most important part is don't think about how long you've been spending on this research project, but think about what it means to you and how you think that it can be extended, where you want to take it. And think about that as more important than just, I've been working on this project for years, so maybe it's the work I want to submit.
That's absolutely excellent advice. So cool, for one thing, to hear that you're continuing with that work, but also so true. We have finalists every year who spend a couple weeks on their research, others who spend multiple months, years. All of it is just so fascinating, and we are so glad to have so many excellent applicants who submit that kind of wide variety of research to us every year. So thank you all for helping me out with those research experience questions. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Marian for the next set.
Thank you, Elaine. So I have some questions focusing on finals week, which all of you participated in, and there's sort of a lot that happens during finals week. So we're going to ask a couple questions to sort of try and get an idea and break down some pieces of it. So my first question is for Yash. What was your reaction when you were named a finalist? What did it mean to you?
I was absolutely thrilled. For me, like becoming a finalist didn't seem possible at all. So when I got it, it was just kind of unbelievable. Like a few weeks before that, I'd gone into Stanford, and to be honest, this was a better feeling than getting into my dream college. And one of the other finalists, Andrew, who wasn't able to make it, went to the same high school as me. And the next day we met up at school, and we were just really happy for each other. So it was a really great feeling.
That's awesome. That's wonderful that you had somebody at your school to share it with. I know from our end, it's very fun making the calls to tell people that they're finalists. We love hearing people's reactions. So my next question then is for Asil, and this is about judging. So there's judging can be a little more complicated than other science fairs that you may have participated in. So many people don't realize that there are actually two types of judging during finals week. There's a judging panel interview, and then there's also project judging. So Asil, do you want to explain a little bit about how they work or how your experience with judging was?
Yeah, sure. So my experience with judging, well, I will say it's just like any other science fair judging if you participated in it, or any other tournament experience where you're just really, really anxious when you first go into it. But judging was basically, like previously mentioned, two different types of judging. So there's the panel judging, and that is a little bit more something you can't really prepare for. Panel judging is very similar to what it sounds like. You go into a room and there are 2 to 3 judges, and they basically ask you questions about a lot of different science topics, a variety of different science topics, ranging anywhere from things like physics to biology to chemistry to environmental science to toxicology. And it can just be a lot of bright. And the thing is, the nice thing about these questions is it's not necessarily that they're looking for a particular answer. Like, it's not like one of those answers you have to like pull out your TI-84 and start calculating on a piece of paper, but it's more one of those questions, type of questions where you just have to like think about it critically and just kind of like say your thoughts and see where that takes you. So there are basically critical thinking questions that you can't prepare for. And then the judging interviews that have to do with your project are a little bit more something you can control. Basically just the judges kind of go around and ask you questions about your project. And a lot of times the judges are pretty familiar with your project. So they'll be asking you a lot more critical thinking questions, a lot of like, what are the implications of your research? What are this, what are that? Like, it's all like surrounding different surrounding things that aren't necessarily like, tell me what you did. It's more, let's think about what you did in this broad concept. But yeah.
Thanks, Cecile. Yeah, and we're very excited for this year. The judges that we have are always sort of a part of the STS community during the week. You really get to spend time with them and get to know them. And so very excited for people to experience that. So thank you, Cecile, for sharing your experience. So my next question is then for Neil. So besides the judging events, finalists also attend special field trips, meet STEM speakers, and bond with one another during finals week. We like to say that the finals week experience is the real prize of STS, and I think that remains true. So Neil, what were some of your favorite events during finals week?
Yeah, so I think there were kind of two different things. So one is a lot of like organized events. So we did things like we had one night where we played ping pong for like the entire night. That was really fun. And then we went to like we went to a bunch of museums in DC. That was really fun. But the other kind of stuff that I really enjoyed was kind of just like on the days where we had judging, we would all kind of like go to the lounge and just like talk with each other about like the questions, or we'd talk about just like everything. And then I'd stay up till like midnight just talking in the lounge. And that was just really fun. And I made a bunch of new friends that way. And so, yeah, I think like the best thing I got out of STS was like making new friends. So like a lot of the people on this like Zoom here, so like at Stanford, I'm still really close to Hovis and Yash and Christine. And so like, just like having STS was really, really nice to make friends who are interested in like science and research in the ways that like I am as well. So yeah.
Yeah, great. I feel like every year's finalists come out and they say one of the best parts was just hanging out with people and just spending time together. So that's wonderful. And I'm so glad you had that experience. Thank you for sharing. So my next question is for Amber. What single word, Amber, would you use to describe the STS experience, and why?
I would say exhilarating, because I feel like I think there are many things about it that I would characterize as exhilarating. The first would be like meeting everyone in person, like that kind of like rush of, well, it's like being around like 40 or I guess 39 like other curious and like really brilliant people that are your age, that's like really a feeling that you can't get really anywhere else, I think. And that kind of like rush when you guys first meet, and also like when you talk, it's just like being around so many other cool people is really like exhilarating. I also think like I don't know if it's right to term judging as exhilarating, because it was also like quite scary. But I think like at a certain point, when you get past the initial fear of like sitting in front of like adults and having them ask you scary questions about science, like if you just I feel like relax into the judging, it can be fun. And I think especially talking about your project, which is something that you've worked on, that you know that you're like proud of and that you want to show off to people, I think that feeling is like universal to all science fairs, and it's also like very exhilarating. And then finals week is very fast paced. I feel like every day like our schedules were extremely packed, so that was also like very fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that many of the folks who are working on your applications now, you can, when you're feeling stressed about it and ready to give up, you can remember that there are exhilarating things waiting. All right, so thank you, Amber, for sharing. My next question is for Victor. What did you enjoy most about STS Finals Week, Victor?
Yeah, STS Finals Week was such a great time. I really enjoyed just hanging out in the lounge, just playing random board games with many of the finalists, and really just hanging out. One of the most thrilling parts was probably Jenga. There's like this they're like brick-sized Jenga pieces in the lounge, and when they all topple over, it's like it makes such a mess, and everyone has to help clean it up. But I think Jenga was one of my one of the more fun experiences.
Thank you. I loved seeing the pictures of Jenga. I'm sure we have more of that to look forward to this year. So my next question is for Desiree. What advice would you give to future STS finalists to help them get the most out of the experience? Or is there anything you wish you had known going into the program?
So yeah, honestly, just like obviously if you make it to finals week, my biggest thing would just be talk to everyone. Like, do not hesitate to start socializing immediately. Like, I have never walked into a room of complete strangers and felt like I've already known them for years and felt so at home. And I think just the shared experience we all had leading up to STS led to that, because we literally became best friends in the span of a week, which is like crazy and probably sounds like absolutely insane to anyone outside of STS, but it's true. Like, we still talk to this day. We hung out over the summer. One of the finalists stayed at my house over the summer. Like, you become really close so fast. So like, do not hesitate to socialize with everyone, whether it's going out for boba or playing games in the lounge or listening to music together or just having conversations about your research during dinners. And obviously, like, this should be a given, like, put yourself in the spaces where people are. Like, don't, when we have downtime, like, don't just stay in your room, don't just keep to yourself. Like, the few days that I did do that, I wish I went out with people, and I wish that I was spending more time with them, because when the week comes to an end, you're just like all upset because you don't want to leave each other. And honestly, the more time you could spend with them, the better.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely great advice to during finals week. Just really, you get out what you put in. And so making sure to make friends with people, because you're going to be surrounded by lots of amazing folks doing all sorts of interesting things. So thank you, Desiree. All right, so my last question for this section is for Max. Max, what would you say is the best thing you gained from the experience of finals week? Oh, did Max leave?
No,
no, there's Max. Sorry. You're here. Great. Max, take it away.
I guess I feel like I'm kind of repeating what everyone said already, but the people, it's a very meeting a bunch of, or like such a large group of people who have shared a very similar experience to you, who are all incredibly smart in their own particular ways, is something that it doesn't happen often. It very rarely happens, and It's just a wonderful environment, and like it's just wonderful to be able to talk to everyone. So that was honestly my favorite part of finals week.
Sounds like we've got a strong theme going of just talking to people and hanging out with people and making friends. So lots of wonderful things to look forward to during finals week. So thank you, Max. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to hand it back to Allie now to ask some questions about community.
Thanks, Marian. And continuing the theme really of what you all have expressed so well so far. My first question is for Christine. What has been your greatest takeaway from participating in STS? And of course, if our audience is unaware, Christine was our first place winner this year. So $250,000 is one thing, but if there are other things, I know the audience would love to know.
Yeah, honestly, one of my biggest takeaways, especially since I guess the theme of this section is community, is that there are just so many other high schoolers that are involved in such cool research and like projects. Because I think where I went to high school, Eastlake High School, doesn't have an established research program at all. So I was one of maybe a handful of kids in my school who even knew what STS or the science fair was, at least before finals week and everything. But it was just so amazing to be at STS and to meet all these other incredible people from all across the country that had also spent, maybe a large part of their high school experience working on these incredible projects. And so it was just amazing to get to learn from all their wisdom and to kind of almost pick their brains because they had all this expertise. And so you kind of merge all that together.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. That is very true. My next question is for Yash. What has rephrase that. How has becoming an alumnus of STS impacted your life?
Yeah, it's impacted in a big way. Like I have a community of people going into college that I know and I'm friends with. And even before college, like we hung out a lot. Like for admit weekend, people stayed at my house. And then over the summer, like I went to people's house from the finalist group. So just this community is very tight knit. Not even from people in the college I am right now, but like I'm still in touch with all of the other finalists from other colleges. So I think being able to have that network and being able to like reach out to them and feel comfortable doing that is just really great.
Awesome. Thank you. And I have kind of a similar question for Neil. And maybe this is an obvious one, but have you come across other STS alums in college? Maybe not just from your class, but maybe there are others at Stanford, I'm going to guess. And how are you all connecting and staying in touch since finals week?
Yeah, so surprisingly, I have friends here from STS. So yeah, it's been really nice. Like, so I walked into math on the first day and Christine was in my class. So that was really cool. So just like having people like that, I kind of just like see people who I know all around campus. And then we did a like reunion dinner thing for Stinner for STS people last week, where we had, I think, all 8 or 9 of us, which was really nice. And then and there are other people who have done STS in the past. So I think at that dinner we met like 2 other people from like 2 years above us. So just like having people here who I already know has just been super nice. And
Awesome. Love to hear that. Well, while you all are unmuted, Eloise, what are you looking forward to in the future? And do you think STS will help you achieve your long-term goals?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm planning to go on the pre-medical bioengineering track and kind of focusing on drug discovery for rare diseases. And I think that my experience at STS really kind of solidified my passion for that because it proved to me that I can be a successful researcher. And that my passions will lead me to make an impact. And not only that, but I think just the community that I built during STS is the main thing that will follow me my whole life. So not only from our own STS class, but I'm now close with a finalist from last year who attends Stanford. We get lunch together, and like going back to just our group, our class of STS finalists. I mean, my best friend is from our class, even though she's at a different college over at Harvard. And me and Christine have our weekly updates every week where we just talk. Neil is in my dorms and we hang out all the time. I see Yash around campus. And so we have this incredible network of 39 other people that we just click with in this really unique way. And that's, I think, the main thing that will follow me for the rest of my life. I know that I can call on these friends anytime that I need anything.
Yeah, it's definitely a special part of it for sure. Rishabh, tell us about your favorite STS memory, or maybe the best part of STS for you.
Yeah, I think for me, the best part of STS was definitely just the unstructured time where you got to just talk to other people, get to know more about their projects, like what they're interested in, and just get to know them as people. Like, I feel like even during judging, like most of the time between our sessions, we were just wandering around, talking, getting to know other people's projects better, talking about why they chose this project, why they're so interested in this. And like, as other people here have mentioned many times, like just every night, that unstructured time would be down in the lounge, just talking about what it feels like to be there, what we want to do in the future, and all these different aspects of what we're interested in. And that allowed us to get, like, I feel like, a lot of close personal connections. And I feel like to me that was the most important and the best part of STS.
Awesome. Definitely true. It's always fun to see how you all spend that downtime. Our last question tonight is for Ethan. Ethan, was it worth it? Would you say you got what you wanted out of your STS experience?
I'd say 100%, maybe even like 200%. STS is just so amazing. And I mean, there's just like so many people that I've met over and over, whether that's through like meetups, whether that's through like other coincidences. I know I was in New York and there's an STS finalist from like 2 years ago who randomly DM'd me like, hey, I'm in New York. Do you want to meet up? I thought your project was cool. And I mean, we just got to chat, got a lot of his experiences from his post-STS, I guess, career path and his college experiences as well. And he thought that was super enlightening, just being able to learn from mentors like that. And then even like randomly going out to Yale's, I think it was like a Bulldog Bash one day, and then having Heloise text me randomly, hey, I'm here at Yale, do you want to like hang out? That was like just like literally like so out of the blue, but it was so great to be able to reconnect and just catch up. And it's just like wherever you go, like I feel like if someone's around, then they'll definitely like reach out. And it's just so great to be able to be part of this community. And I mean, really, really appreciate it. And I mean, definitely apply again, like so many people have reiterated, there's no harm you can get from applying. It doesn't hurt you at all. There's only good sides to it. So given that, I hope that all of you apply and wish you all the best of luck.
Wise words, Ethan. Thank you. And it really is amazing and true. This is a lifelong community for all of you on this call, and we hope for all of you who are watching us tonight. It's something that you hear repeatedly, something we say repeatedly, and that's because it's true. We are so proud of all of our alumni who are here with us on this call tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm not sure we have questions in the chat that are not very specific about individual folks' applications, so Elaine and I can address those. If you email us at sts@societyforscience.org, we'll be sure to get back to you about that. But otherwise, thank you all for joining us. Farewell, and we wish you the best of luck with your applications. Bye-bye.